At the Modern Shillelagh Project, beginners are focused almost exclusively on the attacks and defenses of the hands. And the reasons for this are twofold. The muscles and the ligaments in the arms and hands are just simply not strong enough to handle the levels of exertion needed for full contact fighting, and nor are they strong enough to maintain the levels of control necessary for practicing the advanced game. It takes long hours of slowly and safely building up the stamina of the body in order to develop the aim and control needed for the more strenuous and potentially hazardous levels of full contact open competition. The second reason is to prepare the beginner for the eventuality of complicated and multidimensional attacks to the entire body. You see, because at the higher echelons of stick fighting, it's a rare day when you can just simply walk in there and get a point for free. The defenses of the experienced fighters are such that you must somehow control that situation, or at least increase the predictability of the situation in order to achieve your goal. And that starts in the range of the hands alone. All fakes, controlling blocks, parries, direct blocks, beaten attacks, or just simple direct attacks to the hands and their defenses. Those are the building blocks for the more complicated sets of strategies. It's our club's philosophy to try and create as much damage to the body while using as little energy as possible. And let's see how we accomplish this. We know for one thing, power comes from speed, and speed comes from fluidity. But accuracy comes from practice. And since we're dealing with the hands exclusively in this tutorial, we can leave speed and power for another day and concentrate our efforts on how to make our hand attacks more efficient and more devastating through accuracy. Now here's a diagram of the anatomy of a hand. Let's take a few minutes and look at what it is that we're trying to hit specifically. The two main bones in the arm, the radius and the ulna, can be both strong and weak at the same time depending on where you decide to land your blow. Notice in the diagram how each of those bones is thick at one end and thin at the other. The radius on your thumb side is much thicker lower down on the arm as opposed to up closer to the elbow where it thins out nicely, but it is well padded by the muscles in the forearm. The ulna on the pinky finger side is the exact opposite. It is thicker up by the elbow and much thinner down by the hand. It also has a convenient, obvious bump called the head right on the wrist. Now any experienced stick fighter would call that a money shot. Now also notice that both the bones are not straight. They form a long S shape as well as being thinner at the ends than in the middle. All this adds up to one simple adage. If you want to break an arm bone, low and to the pinky side is your best opportunity. If anyone is thinking that this might be a modern idea, let's take a look at this painting on the side of a 15th century Celtic urn. We have our bad guy on the left, winding up with a big axe type thing. He swings and follows through, and bang, our hero takes him low and to the pinky side. Gee, I seem to have recalled seeing that somewhere before. But to be fair, we've modernized this idea a little bit. We take the low and pinky side from down below instead of up top. I find that keeping the stick low is a more defensive posture, and it's just an easier guard to maintain. And this is why we start to develop accuracy first. The ability to access the more productive areas of the arm and not just club blindly an unknown target is what we try and instill in our beginners in that first year.
Top of the hand, point black.
If you have an opportunity to attack the inside or the thumb side of the arm, then you have to change a few things up. There are some great targets there, even though the job of breaking the radius at this point is a little more difficult. If you feel around on your wrist, you'll find another smaller bump on that side called the styloid. From that small bump all the way down to the knuckle of your thumb, about 4 inches, is what we affectionately call the piss button, named after the bone in the wrist, the pisiform. This is an off button for the whole hand. Now we've included a little reverse angle in here for a few reasons. One, the piss button requires a small step to the inside of your opponent as his stick is right in the way of your target. Now the trick here is to be accurate enough so you don't have to move very far. Let's utilize our freeze frame here to examine this short clip. Notice the fighter in green. He's going to slip a little bit to the right to try and get around, but even when he takes that strike, he takes that little bit of extra step to make sure that he gets around the stick. Okay, let it run. And one more time for clarity's sake. See? Slip, bang. Nice reflex block. Let's load up another clip and examine another aspect of this shot, accuracy. You'll notice that we put a small piece of orange tape on the sweet spot on the receiver's hand, and we also put a little piece of orange tape on the tip of the attacker's stick for clarity's sake. This is going to demonstrate how accurate this shot can be with years of practice. Okay, let it run. Okay, let's freeze it up at the moment of impact. Look at those two dots. Bang on. That's the kind of accuracy you need to be a competent stick fighter.
That was a hand shot.
Now, when attacking the elbow, I don't think there's any real extensive explanation needed here, except for the fact that in order to land this attack, you have to step into the red zone where you're risking getting hit. So you should have a retreating block associated with this attack after it's executed to help you get out clean. Now, here are the basic methods for getting into that area. Now, when viewing this short clip, keep a few things in mind. The easiest way to get the elbow is to take it on the backhand. And there are many ways to get the elbow, but this is just our basic approach to the problem. And you'll notice that this concept is almost identical to what we described earlier with the ulna shot. So just to recap, let's look at the three main hand targets in the Shiner system. First, we have the low and pinky side, or the ulna shot. Then we have the thumb side and low, otherwise known as the piss button. And then we have the elbow shot. Now, when watching these video clips, I want everyone to keep in mind that these are just the easiest ways of achieving these goals. There's a hell of a lot more involved in getting your game up to the level where you can step into the MSP arena and compete as a genuine competitor. As usual, thanks for watching, and remember, keep it pinned at irishstickfighter.com.